It just makes it easier on me. All right. Spread the word. Meeting and greeting starting. Come on in. Let's all sit in the center section if we can. Let's center section just so I can see who's in front of me. And in the first few rows so that it looks like there's a lot of people in here for the live streamers. Just kidding. Yeah, that's my stuff. Just move that over. And watch the glass under the chairs. You're sitting there. All right. Meet and greeting. Spread the word. Spread the word. Meet and greeting. We're meeting and we're greeting. Thank you very much. I have an extensive and intensive bow tie collection. Yes, and it only took me about 6 months to learn how to tie them without watching the YouTube video while I was doing it. Oh no clip-ons. I'm a classy guy. I'm old school. Yeah, this is a real one. Tie double-sided too. Yeah, no clip-ons. Exactly. What? Thank you. I got paisley. I got polka dots, and stripes. I'm working all the patterns today. Might be overkill. Can we center section? Everybody, center section, please. Come on over. Don't get comfy over there. Come on over. Let's be a little closer. Center section. Fill in all the seats. Fill in. We got space. Don't spread too far. So I'll get started by simply saying once again, I've said this before, but I'll say it again. Thank you for the bottom of my heart for the invitation to be your minister. That's a huge commitment on you guys' part. You know, to given this. Yeah, so far so good. Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. You're quite welcome. You're quite welcome. We're filling in the center section. Come on over, center section. Filling in the center section. Come on, so I can just see who's in front of me a lot better. And we are going to pass a mic for those people who are asking questions, because we are going to be live streaming this as well. Center section. Come on, Lacey. I saw you. Come on. We got a lot of empty chairs. Y'all know each other. Whether you like each other or not, pretend for this section. In the center. Come on, there we go. All righty. So yes, as I was saying, thank you very much for that invitation. I'm honored and thrilled. And I hope all of you make the annual meeting as well. I know it's February 1st. I know it's Super Bowl Sunday. In case it hadn't occurred to you yet, I'm letting you know now. But the game's not till, right. And we're going to be out of here by 2. It says we're going to be out of here by 2. I'm not a fan. I don't know what time the game is. I know. But yes, exactly. And that day is an event. Super Bowl is not a game. It's an event. And everybody's got plans and so on and so forth. But trust me, we're going to be out of here by 2 because I'm not a fan of long meetings. And if things start kind of like getting off the tracks, I'm going to jump in and bring us back in. So no worries. So come on the 1st, please. Thank you. All right. So I'm going to turn it over to any one of you who may have a question, a thought, a query, something you always wanted to know. It doesn't necessarily need to be about the church. It could be about me. You could get as personal as you want to ask. I can't guarantee I will answer it, but you can ask. And my mother thought it's nothing wrong with ever asking a question. I think there's a mic around somewhere. Who's got the mic? Who's got the microphone? Where did Mark disappear to? What? No, there's another one. Thank you. I know I got this one. There's another mic floating around. All right, until that other mic shows up. Well, part of it is for the live streamers. They're not going to hear unless they ask a question. So did you have something you wanted to ask? There you go.
So, I'm Chris.
Hi, Chris.
Green team.
Okay.
How's the commute going?
So it'd be really helpful that, yes, when you start your question, please share your name. That will be helpful. So thank you, Chris. Which commute, the one from DC or the one from Brentwood? Okay, because the one from Brentwood is the scarier of the two. Let me just tell you. All these back roads and the snow and the icy roads and all that kind of stuff. It's like, what? But the commute from DC is going great. I mean, I spend more time in the car getting to the airport and sitting in the airport than actually in the air. It's a direct 1.5 hour flight straight into Manchester. I have it timed perfectly so that I land on Wednesday morning, get in the car, and drive here and arrive with a good whole 4 minutes before the staff meeting starts. So it's going well. I got no complaints about that. Yes. So generally, my goal is, while it's winter up here and plane tickets are dirt cheap because nobody wants to come here in the dead of winter, apparently. Can't imagine why it's so beautiful. My goal is to, yes, fly home Sunday evening and fly back up Wednesday morning. We'll see what happens in spring and summer when it gets a lot more warmer and picturesque and those plane ticket prices go up. We'll see what happens. But for right now, I'm here and I'm there and racking up those air miles. Exactly. So yeah. So when I take my 4-week vacation later and I go to someplace exotic, thank you. Yes, I'll have the air miles. I might need to switch airlines because Southwest is not a big international, the more domestics. I might need to switch to a line to rack up some international miles. We will see. Yes, you have a question. And did we get the mic? I just saw, there you go. Let's go to John first, and then we'll come over here.
So is the word idea so embedded in you that you cannot say
idea?
You're going to have to learn that.
So one of the things that is going to happen over time is I'm like a sponge. So you're gonna hear me eventually speaking with both a Barbadian and like a New England twist, which I just can't wait to hear what that's gonna sound like. That's gonna be fascinating.
Hi, I'm Irene, and I just wanted to tell you, Ogun, that yesterday when we were watching the football game, this is how you've already become a part of the culture. We were saying, how's he going to handle this tomorrow in church? And you did it beautifully.
Well, thank you very much. So in DC, we're a football town as well. Not a great football town right now. Redskins are just not doing great. Sorry, the Washington football team. I'm working on taking that word out of my vocabulary as well. And given the proximity of Baltimore, it's almost a 2-football town team. Here's the thing. Football is not my main sport. I'm a basketball guy, but I appreciate the skill and the athleticism. And last night I kind of did have my fingers crossed a little bit for the Ravens, but I am realizing that this is part of my home too. So either way, whoever won, I was coming out on top. So I was okay with that. The both and. I was okay with the both and. Any other? Meg, way over there in the back.
Boy, it's such a joy. It is such a joy. And I want to meet your family. When will we meet your family?
That's a good question. And I won't ruin it with an answer.
Okay.
I honestly don't know. So you may get to meet them. One of my intentions is March 15th or 22nd or something like that. One of those Sundays in March to have like an official installation service here. And that will entail some participation from you guys, the whole, ceremony, all that kind of thing. Someone pulls out the sword of Excalibur and knights me, something like that. And they're making plans to come for that.
Oh, good.
At least. And we will see. My wife is also a full-time minister, so she's got her hands full with doing that.
Okay.
And yeah. So.
Does your daughter stream Or does she go to the church with your wife?
She better go. she better be going. Yeah, no, she's going. She goes to church there too. You know, she's part of the youth and family program,
Right.
and she is, you know, she's a double PK, a double preacher's kid. So this is her. You know, as I said to folks when I was interviewing, her sense of normal is very skewed compared to other folks. Okay, so I mean, she's had this. This started when our first experience of doing church. My wife was a ministerial student, 2005. We were at Uni Village. How many folks have been to Uni Village? All right, a few of you. So Uni Village is like, you know, Mecca for unity. It's Lee Summit, Missouri, just outside Kansas City, and about 2 hours. But 2 hours west is this little town called. It's where K-State is. I can't believe I'm forgetting. Manhattan. Thank you, Lord. I hope none of them are watching. Sorry, guys. You know I love you. Manhattan, Kansas, and they have this little unity community there without a minister, or for a while they didn't have a minister. And what they would do, they would ask a student to be like their student minister for a year, and they asked my wife to do this. So and then after she was ordained, they said, you know, would you be willing to stay on? Because you guys aren't moving away right away. Ogun's still going to go into school. Would you mind staying on for a while? So about almost 2 years, we would get in the car on Sunday morning, drive 2 hours to Manhattan, Kansas, do church, and drive back home. My daughter at the time was 5. So this was always her experience. And when we started, she was the only kid. Like she, you know, we spread a blanket out at the back of the room that they were sitting in, and give her piles of coloring books and stuff. And she was born in a Unity church. You know, her very first experience of Unity was being adjusted just a little few hours after she was born by our chiropractor, who came to our church as well. And by week 2 of her life, she was in church. So she has the experience of being a preacher's daughter, 2 of them. And, you know, you've heard me, I'm as irreverent as it might get. And so so her life experience is still, we are her parents, you know. We don't know what else to do to get her to clean her room. Did you walk the dogs yet? You know, so it's your normal parent-child relationship, and yet it's not, because of the nature of our jobs. And she's been used to that her whole life. It's all she's ever known. You know, it's not like suddenly at 12 we became ministers and everything was turned upside down. This is all she's ever known. So she's okay. We Skype almost every day, and almost as a result of that, we're probably talking more than when I was actually there. You know, so we'll see how long that lasts as well.
Do you take the CDs?
No, I don't. Because eventually they get up on YouTube, so they can see, and they're not gonna watch me. They're seeing me. I mean, I am daddy who tells her what to do, and you know, I'm a husband who won't pick his shoes up off the floor. They don't need to see me do a Sunday service. They've seen that plenty of times, you know. So it's all good. Yes, in the center, Diane.
Well, just so you know, if the scheduling is difficult because your wife is also a minister, but I assume that she probably gets a couple days off here and there too. I know as a congregation, I can't speak for everyone, but my feeling is that we would step up to be present on a Monday or a Tuesday, you know, to meet your family, or if you wanted to bring them in on the front end of the week on your days off, and I know that we would come.
So we will, yes. I'll let them know that. I'll let her know that. And between me and you, she probably ain't gonna come till spring. Let's just call it like it is. She's about as less a fan of the cold as I am. It's cold enough there. Exactly, you know, so it's all right. Yes. Anyone else have anything over here? Ross, you know, it'll be just quicker if I do this. There we go.
We are so fortunate to have you here, and it's a real blessing to have you as our new minister, and I want to thank you for choosing us as we chose you. My question, and I had discussed this with some other people before, is all of the churches, organizations seem to have a problem attracting the millennials, the young people, to any organization that is, you know, whether it's religious or a community-based organization. And I know that you're a self.
I look like a millennial. Yes, I know.
No, I was going to say a self-proclaimed geek, I guess. And you're with technology and the social media and so forth. Do you have any plans to, because that's where they are. They're in the social media. They're with the technology, and that's how you would reach them with any kind of marketing efforts. Are there any plans in the works to go ahead and do that? You know, it's just it's a problem all over, and how do you?
It's an opportunity, and yes, there are plans. In fact, I've already spoken with a few people about putting together a social media team to boost our online presence even more. But I'm going to make a slight amendment to what you said. We're not going to get millennials in the building. Not a whole lot. We're simply not. We have to go to them. And we're not going to go to them online either. Where we will find them and where they will find us is when we engage more in some social action projects. That's as one who looks like a millennial again. Not to speak for an entire generation, because you're always going to find yourself in trouble if you try to speak for an entire generation. But when all the research, studies, interviews are shown for millennials, is that they're a generation of action. They're a generation of, if we want to change the world, we got to roll up our sleeves and go do it. When I was in DC, I was connected a lot with a lot of interfaith organizations and communities, and this is what they did. They planned social action events and provided social action opportunities, and that's where all the 20-somethings were turning up. And an amazing amount of those 20-somethings not on social media. Not on social media. So we have this idea, it's one of these like false ideas that that's where they're all floating around. No, they're not, because they're out there actually meeting each other, hanging out, having a good time, changing the world. So I was actually in conversation with someone about that, to start thinking of, doing some research, looking around, what are some social action opportunities around in the area, as far down as Boston or wherever, even here, that we could make our presence felt. You guys had a peace walk recently, is my understanding, create more stuff like that, more tangible things, not more, and there's nothing, again, don't get me wrong, what we do on Sunday morning is important. Come together, celebrating spiritual community. Next week, I'm going to talk more about this as we, talk about how we live all these things. But that's what they're going to show up for. They're not going to show up for church. As fun as I am and as rocking as this music is, it's I think a very generational thing. So we will see how that rolls out. And I'm not doing the social action thing to get them. I'm doing it because it's the right thing to do. It's the right thing to do. Any other thoughts and questions? Hey, Jen is a millennial. You want to speak for all the millennials in the world? Or are you good? She's good. Put her on the spot. She's good.
So,
who's going to make? Oh, hi.
Chris again.
Chris.
So along the same lines, Reverend Ogun, how do you see beginning to change the racial face of this congregation into a more diversified racial congregation?
More good questions. So I was at Planet Fitness the other day. I go work out a lot because it's good for me. I ain't getting no younger, right? I admit that. So I was at Planet Fitness, and since I came up here, I've been there, I don't know, 5, 6 times. And it's, of course I know this. I'm like the only black guy in the place. And then the last time I went, there was another black guy. And we gave each other look, it's another black guy look. And but it wasn't like an obvious, like, oh my God, thank God you're here kind of thing. It was just, it was a subtle acknowledgement in each other's eyes that we recognize. But listen, we are where we are, right? We are where we are geographically. We can't help that. It is where we are. I don't think it's a problem we necessarily got to fix. We be who we are, and people will show up regardless of who they are. So I don't know that there's anything, and this is not to say that it's not something that is in my sphere of thinking and so on, but I am not a fan of trying to say, let's create this to get that, okay? Because I start with, why do we think we want that? Let's be the best of who we are, and we will do that. Great story for you. So I must have told this story 4 times since I've been here, so some of you may have heard it already. You all know who Truett Cathy is? Truett Cathy is the CEO of Chick-fil-A. Any of you familiar with the Chick-fil-A restaurants? Right, and they got the billboards with the cows saying, eat more chicken, Chick-fil-A. One of my favorite fast food places, which I'm trying to not show up at anymore. But they started doing some really good grilled chicken, so I'm okay with that. I'm way off course now. Anyways, so Truett Cathy, he's a Christian, very staunch Christian, and Chick-fil-A restaurants do not open on Sundays as a result of that. They take Sabbath. And they actually got in a little bit of trouble a couple years back for their support of organizations that did not support marriage equality. And they kind of cleaned that up recently. But a few years back, I want to say, I think it was in the early 90s or something, another restaurant chain was getting started, Boston Market. And they used to have a different name. I think they originally were like Boston Chicken, something like that. They came on the scene, and they had this massive expansion plan. And they were boasting about it. How are we gonna have, a Boston Chicken in every town? And they just this whole massive plan for carpeting the U.S. with these restaurants. And the people at Chick-fil-A started to panic, because in terms of restaurants, it was their closest competition. So they started to panic a little bit. So the way the story goes is that they're at a board meeting one day, and everyone's like throwing out these ideas. How do we get bigger? We got to get an expansion plan to meet with them, or they're just, panicking and throwing all these ideas and going back and forth. And Truett Cathy, a reputedly soft-spoken man, bangs his fist on the table and says, no, our job is to be better at who we are. If we keep getting better at who we are, our customers will demand the growth. We don't have to worry about it. So our goal is just to keep getting better at who we are and what we do, okay? Fast forward, Chick-fil-A's are all over the place. Boston Chicken almost went bankrupt, had to rebrand themselves as Boston Market, and not nearly the size of Chick-fil-A right now. When you are the best, and this is a spiritual lesson too. When you are the best at who you are, when you're the best manifestation of who you are, the growth is going to happen. Things are going to fall into place. You will attract others who are seeking to have that experience as well. People ask how you grow a church. Yeah, there are many different gimmicky things you could do, But the one thing that works to grow a church is to become the best at who you already are. And that is going to get uncomfortable. Because what that's going to mean is, from my part, as also, I'm the minister, but I'm also like the, chief administrator as well. So that means looking at all the processes that are in place here, or the ones that are not, and making those changes so that this Unity on the River is like a humming, well-oiled machine, and that everybody knows which, what, where, when, why, that every ministry is well supported by staff, volunteers, that we don't have panic moments. Everything is running and humming smoothly. When people ask questions, we know where to find the answers and what the answers are, because we have plans and we have procedures in place. People don't like to hear the word procedures in church. Okay, but procedure is not a goal. Procedures procedures and processes are means to an end, and that end is being the best at who we are. There's an expression, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I don't believe in that expression. I believe in how can we make this better. That doesn't mean it's not good, because when you look at the words, it's good, better, best. It's not bad, better, best. It's good, better, best. So something may be good. That doesn't mean that we can't keep asking, how can we even make this better? And I do this in my own personal life as a speaker and as a minister. I listen to my own talks sometimes. And I, without beating up on myself, it's about, okay, did I get that point across in the best possible way? Was that the best possible story I could have used to illustrate that point? How could I perhaps do it better next time? That's what improvement is about. That's how we grow individually, spiritually, and that's how we're going to grow organizationally. Be the best and better and the best at what we are and who we are. And then we don't have to worry about how we going to get people in here, because we're going to be humming so brightly and so loudly, they're going to be rolling in on their own. Okay, that got a response. Wow! So you're either pleased or pissed off. I'm not sure which. Let's find out, shall we? Let's start at the back. There's some folks in the back who haven't spoken at all yet. So let's start there. You know what happened? I spoke too much. If I keep my answers short, you'll be okay.
Hi, my name is Carl, and I want to say welcome again. And I also want to point out there is a marvelous facility called Latitudes Gym, which is about a 5-minute drive from here. It's more expensive than Planet Fitness, but they have everything, including a very diverse customer. You would not be out of place to be in there lifting weights or working out.
Well, thank you. Okay, so just a little bit of, So the reason I do Planet Fitness is not necessarily for the expense of it, but because for a little, not too much expense, I can go to any Planet Fitness in the country. So I'm working out of my Planet Fitness home and any of the Planet Fitnesses here. There's one in Amesbury as well. But I don't feel out of place because I changed the context of why I'm walking in. So I'm not walking into Planet Fitness to meet with, connect with people who look like me. I'm walking into Planet Fitness to meet and connect with people who want to be healthy. Okay? So they may not, and you know what? After 15 minutes, we all look alike. We all sweating. We all looking tired. We all trying to ignore the fact politely that we stink to high heaven because of the sweat. So we all end up on the same page, So it's all good. Sometimes you got to change, have a paradigm shift, and it's gonna be the same thing here. It's more important for me that the folks who walk through this door begin the process of expanding their consciousness. It's more important for me that the people sitting in the seats and myself are always in the process of expanding our consciousness, okay? Don't matter what you look like. It doesn't matter what you look like. Now, that being said, there is enough research to show that whoever is the leader of an organization eventually attracts people along the same wavelength in many different areas. So, prepare yourself. There might be an onslaught of, handsome young black men showing up soon. We don't know that. It could happen. Just saying, it could happen. But what's in here is more important than what it looks like out here. Okay. Yes. Go ahead in the back. Yes.
I'm Annie Houghton.
Hi, Annie.
And hi. I've welcomed you many times. I want to welcome you again.
Thank you.
I want to refer back to your discussion about social justice and being involved in social justice projects. I also want to pick up a little bit on your reference to working ecumenically and interfaith, and affirm your experience and my desire to see you bring that experience here to Amesbury. I'm not sure, but sometimes I pick up that we here in Unity can have an elevated sense of our spirituality vis-a-vis other Christian denominations. I would like to encourage you to reach out to the other Christian churches in the area, especially Amesbury, and at the level of social justice, to invite us to work with other churches at that level. If not us, supporting that and engaging at that level. We have in the past taken two different, I don't know what happened to my voice. We have taken two different social justice agencies and supported them. But it has, in my estimation, been too little. Mm-hmm. And it hasn't been, in my estimation, a sense of the whole body getting on board. When I think of a church body getting on board, I think of it as, yes, this is it. We own this. We participate in it. We place our time, our money, our affection, our passion. We have agencies here in Amesbury that are reaching out to the homeless, that are reaching out to women who are in dire need in their children. We have some churches that do outreach with young people, and they go to Africa and they go to South America. I mean, I know that would engage some people here as what do you call them? Advocates and fundraisers, and we monitor the children and getting our children involved in doing that. I mean, Main Street Congregational Church does that. Sure. I think we have blinders on to what's in our own community. And I would like us to, you talk about rising, reaching out, going deeper, expanding. I'd like us to expand into what is here in Amesbury, really owning our community and caring about our community and really belonging to our community and letting our community affect us deeply. I also loved what you said this morning about communion. You use different definitions. One of my definitions is mutuality, that we walk in mutuality with other people of faith. We don't need to change them and invite them here. They don't need to change us, invite them there. But we see people of goodwill and we work together. How much good we can do and change the world right from our place here.
Well said. Well said. I'm on it. And Patience is a virtue. And one of the things it will necessitate is what I am clear about is we don't start anything until we have personnel support in terms of volunteers, in terms of someone who wants to clear about stepping into consistent leadership about it. We gotta have the foundation as we step forward. We will. And remember, this is only week 2. Only week 2. I'm still getting used to walking around with keys so I don't get locked out of certain parts of the building. I still don't know. So yes, as I continue to transition into this position, as I continue to talk to people, like I said, I was having a discussion about this very topic with someone yesterday. So the conversations are starting, the seeds are being planted, and we'll get clear and we will step into action. So thank you for that support. All right, there we go. Okay, I wanna do this for about 10 to 15 more minutes, and then send us all home in the afternoon. I don't know about y'all, but I'm about starving. I'm so hungry. Yeah, we'll take a few more. So who, if you've not asked the question yet, let me just see the hands of people who've not asked or said anything that have a question. All right, so where's the mic? Where's the mic? Okay, so let's come over this way and start back here with, it's not Ed, is it? Jay, there you go. Me and names, man. Oh.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you. You're welcome.
And when I am in a fitness center and I get talking with some of these huge bulked up black men, I tell them, I hope when I grow up I can look like you.
Nice. Nice.
So I appreciate your emphasis on social action.
Thank you.
My question has to do with your emphasis on pastoral care.
Okay. What specifically is your question? Or just you want me to share my thoughts on the subject?
Yeah, share your thoughts and your approach and your perspective on pastoral care. My belief is that it is one of the most significant parts of ministry, and it also, just a brief comment, a minister, I think it was in Chicago, had a really staunch CEO Republican in his church. And the Republican said, my minister can say anything he wants to because when my wife was dying, he was there. So, number one, it really serves, but also people come because of that service. Mm-hmm. My perspective.
So I agree with you. Pastoral care is vital to a healthy congregation. We are here as a church to help meet the spiritual needs of individuals. It's so funny in past communities I've been at where people look to the church to provide a lot of interested needs, whether it be, housing, we're moving, send people help, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I think I might be writing that. Oh no, that's not me. Okay, but we're here to take care of spiritual needs, and in Unity we believe when the spiritual needs are taken care of, the rest of life flows a whole lot better. So yeah, I'm very supportive and agree about pastoral care. And my understanding is that we have an established prayer team here and a chaplaincy team, and it's also on me as the minister to help provide some of those pastoral care needs. And I'll be straightforward and honest with you. There's only one of me and a lot of you, so we get to prioritize. And we prioritize maybe based on needs and urgency and other things as well. But absolutely, I'm going to sit and have pastoral care conversations and sessions with individuals. I'm going to make sure that the prayer team is involved, make sure the chaplains are involved. In many cases, they may be and probably will be the first point of contact. I'll give you a great example. Someone emailed me yesterday about a situation that they wanted me to pray about in the course of the service. And I said, given how the service runs and given what you're asking, that the context, that may not be the best place. But as you've described what just happened, my heart goes out to you, and I don't understand what you're going through, but I can understand the distress that you're in. It makes sense that you're in the distress that you're in. So I'd be happy if you want me to, and she's already worked with the prayer team. I said, I'm happy to sit down and talk with you. Let's schedule a time to do that with. So there'll be times when that will happen, and there'll be times when it's gonna be sent to the prayer team and the chaplains. But yeah, absolutely, we have to take care of the spiritual needs of each other. Let's go. Let's do Susan and then Ben. And did you have your hand up? Oh no, Lacey did. So Susan, then Ben, and no. Skip Ben. Susan. If you get another question, the spot's still there for you. So we go Susan and then Lacey and see if Ben came up with something. Okay, go ahead, Susan.
Ogun, one of the areas of interest for me that I've been involved in Unity on the River at various times and with various degrees of involvement, I should say, is the area of worship and what goes into making our worship together exciting, inviting, and prayerful. Can you say something about, just to context something, as Shipley began to release her ministry here, the worship team as such got condensed. And I'm wondering if you could speak to what your thoughts and ideas are about expanding the involvement of individuals in the congregation to participate in planning and visioning worship, and how that invitation might go out.
Okay, so I think in some ways I addressed that, not specifically, but when I talked about constantly looking at how do we make this good thing better? How do we make this good thing better? So over the course of the time, yeah, that's what happens on Sunday morning is gonna be one of those things that I take a good hard look at and tweak some stuff, expand some stuff, shrink some stuff, invite more people into. I think we got a good Sunday morning experience going on in here as it is. And as with anything, like I said, that is good, there's always room to tweak. Somebody, who was I talking to? Was it Jay? I was talking to Jay about this right at the end of service. We want an experience of energetic music and excitement. We want that excitement because, if for no other reason, physiologically, our body loves that, and we want to show up for that. And unity is also about going into the stillness and the silence, which I spoke at length about today. So we have some time of that too. So how do we navigate what's the best blend for that? How do we make things seamless so they're, even more, and it's pretty seamless here now, but even more seamless. You'll notice, for example, that I no longer sit up here anymore. I do that for a few reasons. One, I'm making more room for the choir to grow. Okay, I loves me a big choir. So I'm creating the conditions for that to happen by getting physically out of the way. So there's one. Second of all, I've never been a fan of the minister on the pulpit. It's just a little bit too guru-ish for me. I say as I sit on the pulpit, but But you know what I'm saying? It's like you're gonna get me for 20 minutes up here anyways. I don't necessarily need to be up there on display all the time anyways. Plus, I can enjoy what's going on up here better when I'm down there. I'm here to be fed too. Okay, so there's part of that. One of the things that is gonna be rolling back in mid-February is Wednesday night service. And don't clap yet. Let me tell you what's going to happen. Then you may not be clapping as hard. I love your enthusiasm. But I do want to make the Wednesday night experience two things, more contemplative and more interactive. So you guys come on Sunday, we sing, you sit, I talk. It's very like, not interactive. It's give and receive. Mostly flowing in that direction. Giving, receiving. And you energetically return and you give energy and receive energy. Okay, so give and receiving. Wednesday night I want to be more contemplative. So here's what I have just in mind. And yeah, Jane, you might be hearing this for the first time too, or you might not be. So, just take notes. And this is all subject to change, by the way. That's my disclaimer. But I want an experience that's gonna entail three things on Wednesday nights. First one is song, singing, chanting, not high energy, more simple, repetitive, mantra type chanting, okay, to help bring our awareness here even more. Okay, extended meditation. Okay, so on a Sunday morning, what are we in the silence for? 2 minutes at best, right? So Wednesday night, minimum 15 of just sitting in the silence, and that's gonna push some people. That's not gonna sit well with some people, and it's gonna be difficult for some people. But we're gonna work our way up to it. Not gonna start with a 30-minute meditation the first night. We're gonna work our way up to that. Sitting in the silence, okay? For many, many people, the only time they get really sitting in the silence is when they come on Sunday morning. And that's 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 5 minutes if I get lost in my own thoughts in my head during the silence and forget where I am. That has happened. Okay, but intentional sitting in the silence. That's what I want part of Wednesday night experience to be about, okay? So that'll cover maybe the first half an hour of the night. And then we're gonna talk. I am not going to talk, we are going to talk. I may share some thoughts, gonna let you guys throw some questions, ask me stuff, kind of like what we're doing here, but not about, football and commuting and all that kind of stuff, about spiritual matters. It may be a topic I bring up. It may be more stuff that follow up to stuff I mentioned on Sunday. I envision myself saying more often than not, so here are some other things I forgot to mention on Sunday during my talk. And we dig in a little bit deeper and get some response. Almost in like a Dharma talk, kind of what you would find at like a Buddhist center, that kind of deal. The working title, this may not be the last title, but this is the working title for it, which I came up with yesterday. Samadhi. You know what Samadhi means? Who knows what it means? What does it mean? Or your idea, your concept of it? One of them is awakening. I hear you. Samadhi but it's also the concept of creating the space and condition for the silence as well. And if you really dig into the Buddhist concept of it, there are different kinds of it, but it's really that idea of opening ourselves up to hear what comes out, to be awakened, but we have to create the conditions for it. If we want transformation, we have to first create the conditions for transformation, okay? And that's what, changing our thoughts, changing our beliefs, evolving those. We're creating the conditions for these things. So Wednesday night is gonna be an experience about really creating that condition, sitting in the silence, simplifying or worship experience by just simple chants, and then being in dialogue with each other. because we all hear the same thing, but then we all interpret it differently and experience it differently. So I think it's going to behoove us to share with each other, and challenge me as well. Challenge me. I want to be challenged by you. When you say this, here's what happened. How does that apply? I can't see the connection, and let's talk it out. Because for me, and I'm doing this for entirely selfish reasons, let me just tell you, okay? Because for me, my thing about church was you go, you sit, you go home, and then what, right? And in Unity, the thing I loved about Unity was then we'll have some classes, so you can go in class and truly, dig things up, stir things up, be challenged. You have your class experiences. But what if you can't commit to a class? What if, life happens, you can't commit to a class, you don't want to do a class? There still needs to be something in between. And for me, that Wednesday night service is going to be that in-between opportunity for folks to come and say, I've been reading this thing, or you said this thing, I've kind of been struggling with understanding it, or sharing, I get it now, and here's how it showed up in my life, and it's been fabulous, and blah, 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 blah. So we get into a time of learning from each other. Samadhi. So that's what I'm working with. And in the process of talking to some of the folks here and fine-tuning it, and you'll hear more about that. So in terms of the actual worship service here and what happens under that umbrella, yeah, over the course of the time I'm here and over the course of the year, we'll look, we'll tweak, we'll ask, is what else is needed, what is not needed, and do some fine-tuning. But the change, but they will be over time, they'll be incremental, and we don't want to shock folks with sudden change. So, yeah, we'll do those. I don't know if I answered your question, but that's all it comes to me. Which piece is that?
The piece about how
I'm gonna ask them. I mean, maybe I'm not sensing what you're saying, but if there's a need, if I feel, or the team that feels, or whatever, that there is a need that should be filled, then the next question becomes, okay, if this is a need, who here thinks that they may be best equipped to fill that need in terms of creating whatever it is, and we talk about it, and then we move forward and invite them to build their team around it. But again, I'm very committed to the thought of not starting anything until we're clear that we have a plan and we have people in place to execute the plan, as opposed to let's just start it and there's the build it, it will, and they will come concept, but before you built it, somebody drew up blueprints and they got workers and they got architects and somebody put a plan in place to actually build it. So. Oh no, I did not hear it that way at all. I did not hear it that way at all. The question of how can we do things better is never about criticizing. It's about maximizing. Okay? How can we do it better is about maximizing. It's being the better and the best that we can be. And again, before better comes good. So there's no criticizing. So when I begin to implement more visible changes, bear that in mind. It's not because what was here wasn't working. It's about what is here is always going to get better. Last question, Lacey.
Forgot my question. Pub theology.
Yes. What's the question?
What's that about, and what type of places or your criteria are you looking for?
Okay. So one of the growing trends in both the spiritual and religious movements around the country is this concept called pub theology, where folks go to a pub, a restaurant, a bar, they sit over beer, wine, water, Sprite, whatever you want to talk about, and we get in discourse. When you ask the question about millennials, when I was in DC, I was part of a pub theology group, and that's where a lot of them were. They'd come after work, and they'd come dinner, happy hour, and we will sit and we would talk about spiritual matters. And it was there at one table, you know, you have your unity minister, you had your atheist, and then you had everything in between. You know, and it was like one of those full circle things, because more often than not, me and the atheist were on the same page about things. So it was a fascinating group. He was so happy he showed up, yes. Pub, P-U-B. Pub, no, pub theology, not pot theology. That's a whole other thing that I'm not getting into right now. So I will also say this. It's something that I will create on a personal level, not a minister of unity on the river level. For a whole host of reasons, it's not going to be a ministry of unity on the river. It is not. This is something I do for fun. Okay? This is a fun thing. And it's a fun thing that any and everyone can show up at. And literally, that's what it is. We sit, we enjoy a beverage, and we just talk. And it is going to be a little structured, where I'll show up with some topics in mind. But the idea, it's that idea where I mentioned yesterday. Where do we see God? We see God reflecting in each other. Okay, God is like light. We don't see light, but we know there's light because of the things that it reflects from. Okay. So if we say that, and if we say all is God and all is in God, then, you know, coming from that interfaith perspective, everybody's got a point of view. Everybody's an expression of the divine at their essence. Now, personality-wise, we might bump up against each other in terms of beliefs and theologies and all of that. But the key to connection is relationship. The key to peace is relationship. The solution is relationship. So how do we get in relationship with each other? Okay? So sitting on Sunday morning is a wonderful, great experience that absolutely needs to happen. And how do we build relationship? By talking, by conversing, by breaking bread together. So that's part of the Wednesday night experience that I want to do about the talking. Is that's how we create relationship with each other. This pub theology thing that I'll do on my own time is another thing as well. So you're not going to hear me advertising it. You're not going to see a notice in the bulletin. It's not a ministry of this church. But, you know, word will get around. We love to gossip. We'll tell each other. You know. So, yeah. So for the next few weeks, I'll be in the research phase of going to various establishments and checking out. And you know, I am a beer snob. No offense, but you will never see me drinking a Budweiser. No offense to anyone who loves Budweiser. No offense. So I need some place that has a good selection. On tap. Forget that bottle stuff. On tap. So you know, sure. I will check out some places as well. And it, you know, it may bounce all over the place again. The word will get out. Most likely than not, it'll get out on my Facebook page. So, you know, if you haven't connected with me on Facebook yet, please do it.
What's your email?
revogun@unityontheriver.org. Yes. Connect with me on Facebook. Any Twitter fan, people out there, I'm on Twitter, I'm on Instagram, most of the social media outlets out there you'll find me on, and I will communicate that stuff on there. My goal also is, I think we're going to have another one of these maybe next month, but I am also maybe thinking quarterly, or maybe even twice a year, maybe quarterly, just to have one of these informal sit-down gatherings. You know, again, where we talk and we ask questions, kind of like, you know, town hall kind of stuff. You know, I may live to regret that, but you know, I want to hear from you. I want to hear from you, and it's, you know, if y'all email me, I'm not going to get back to you for another 3 weeks, because that's just the nature of email. 'Cause email, I mean, you know, I'm sitting here right now and I just got here and I go through the 4 emails and then there's 5 more waiting for me that came in while he was answering the first 4. You know, so I can't spend all my day doing that. You know, there are other things to take care of. but dialogue like this. This is important. This is valuable for me. It's valuable for you. And this is, again, how we create relationship. You know, Annie mentioned homelessness a while back. You know what the solution to homelessness is? Relationship. You know, when I was in Raleigh, a good friend of mine who runs a pastoral care ministry just for homeless individuals. This is his thing, and I really agree with it. The solution is relationship, because when you have relationships, if something happens, your friend, your family is going to take you in, and you're not out on the street. That's the solution for a lot of things, relationship. So we're going to talk, and this is probably my next couple of talks after I've wrapped up this, 5 basic principles series, is talk about how we are in relationship with each other. Because sure enough, we know the Christ is in everyone, but by golly, sometimes we got trouble getting around the personality. And that's the truth of the matter. And at some point, every one of us will say something that will rub somebody else in here the wrong way. It's just the nature of how we are as human beings. So how do we deal with that? You know, we've got this wonderful art and practice of nothing and no one is against you. And how do we get to that place where our default response is different? Because we'll have our response and then we'll remember a few minutes later or a few hours or a few days, oh yeah, that art and practice thing. You know, how do we make that our default? So we can be talking about all of that as well. Relationship. Buzzword. Is this a quick question? Because we need to wrap up. I just think this is a great idea. Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. All right. I think that's it for today. Thank you all so much for hanging out with me. Have a great afternoon. I'm going to go find me some lunch now.